Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Parents. In today's episode, EM calls the police on me for stealing her daughter, who is my girlfriend, and an adult. Entitled mom yells at me and my cousin because we didn't let her kids play. Entitled parent complained that I made him feel like a child. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. EM calls the police on me for stealing her daughter, who is my girlfriend, and an adult. Sorry this is so long, but I hope those of you who read it will enjoy it. Background. This happened about 5 years ago. My fiancé and I have been together 7 years this month. We're hoping to get married this year but might postpone due to the circumstances. We were reminiscing some old stories yesterday when this one came up, and she suggested I share it. She was my girlfriend at the time, and at the time I was fully aware that her mom was a few fries short of a happy meal, but this was the pinnacle of her behavior. If you guys enjoy this story, I actually have a few more I shall share if you like. Sorry for the length, but I hope you guys enjoy it. FYI, there is a happy ending. Cast: EM, entitled mom, my future mother-in-law. Girlfriend, Ellie. PO, police officer. OP, obviously. Story: Ellie and I weren't living together at the time, she just stayed over from time to time when she could. I took her home after she had been staying with me a couple days and was heading to work. But shortly after, just before getting to work, I get a phone call from her and I can tell she is in tears. Apparently when she got inside, EM immediately blew up on her about being gone for so long, even though it was only 2 days, and she told EM she was going to be gone and kept in contact with her while she was gone. But Ellie just sorta brushed it off and went to her room. EM's house was pretty much your stereotypical crazy cat lady house. House badly decaying, cats all over the place, going to the bathroom in random places and whatnot. And when Ellie gets to her room, she realizes while she was gone, the cats pissed and shit all over a pile of her clean clothes. But whatever, Ellie decided to just bag them up and she would wash them next time she came to my place. Her mom didn't have a functioning washer at the time, and apparently, that really set EM off. EM apparently thought Ellie was bagging her clothes because she was planning to go back to my place that night, stay another few days. So she stomped into her room, grabbed the bag, ripped it open, and flung the clothes all over the room along with the cat shit and piss while screaming at Ellie that she's not going anywhere. That's when Ellie ran outside and called me. She was so upset and didn't know what to do. Her mom had been doing crazy stuff to Ellie since I'd been with her, but up until I just helped her however I could while not getting involved and not saying a word to her mom. I told her to go ahead and get the things she needs, and I'll take her to my place. She said she would love that. I told my work I was gonna be late due to an emergency, and turned around to go pick her up. When I pulled back up to the house, Ellie was in the driveway crying. I went and hugged her, told her it was gonna be okay and that she could stay with me as long as she wanted. So she went back inside to get her things. As I was standing outside waiting, I heard the door open again and went to help Ellie with her things. Oh, it's her mom. EM comes stomping out with her hair crazy and frizzled, and an old nightgown. She beelines for me and gets right in my face. EM, with an extremely thick high-pitched southern accent, my daughter said I need to come out her and ask what you think of me. I knew that was a blatant lie as Ellie would never instigate this. You got something to say? Huh? You think I'm trash, don't you, huh? That's what you think, isn't it? Again, up until now, I completely kept my mouth shut and was trying to maintain that. But this woman was up in my face, freaking out, and was tormenting the woman I loved, so I finally looked at her and broke my silence. Opie, why do you treat her like this? Gasp, what do you mean? That's my daughter and I worship the ground she walks on. OP, oh really? So insulting her is worship? Yes, I've heard her say this with my own ears. Gasp, I would never say anything like that. OP, getting rather irate, bullshit. I've heard you say it. Explosion, you get you off my property. Okay, I almost never find myself in situations like this, so I'm not used to it. I say that because after she said this, I pretty much saw red. I'm not proud of it, but I just started shouting every curse word in the book I could possibly think of at the top of my lungs while she went back in the house. But thankfully, that only lasted a few seconds and I immediately calmed down. So finally Ellie comes back out with her stuff, we put it in the car and I assume it's over. But Ellie turns to me and says, "Ellie, I'm sorry, but we can't leave yet." OP, why not? Ellie, Mom called the cops. I sorta had a feeling that would happen, no big deal. So we just sat and waited for the cop to arrive. After about 10 minutes or so, a cop car pulls up. Right when he does, EM comes out of the house, and oh my god. Yes, she was doing exactly what you think. She instantly puts on the fragile, brittle old lady act. Hunched over, walking slowly, the whole gig. And of course, when PO asks her what happened, she has to pitch her entire medical chart to the guy. Ellie will tell you this woman has been terminally ill for 12 years lol. So when she finally gets done trying to milk this poor guy for sympathy, she tells her version of what happened. Sir, he came onto my property and verbally attacked me. He's awful to me, sir, and I've never even done anything to him. He's turned my daughter against me and is trying to convince her to leave. At first, he seemed somewhat sympathetic to her, until he turns to Ellie. PO, ma'am, this is your boyfriend? Ellie, yes, sir. PO, okay, and how old are you? Ellie, sir, I'm 23. This was my favorite part because the officer looked up from his notepad with a look of wait, what? Obviously he was thinking Ellie was a minor or something based off of how EM was acting, but quickly realized just what he was dealing with. Eventually he turns to me. PO, okay sir, please give me your version of what happened. I did so. Funny side note, at one point PO looks up at me and says, PO, you look really familiar, do I know you? It actually turned out the PO and I had gone to high school together. Once we recognized each other, we laughed and shook hands, and very briefly. This was hilarious because out of the corner of my eye, I see EM has a big scowl on her face as she sees me getting friendly with PO. But anyway, PO puts his notepad away and turns to me. Just FYI, he says the following with this heavy tone of, I know that you are fully aware of this and don't believe you are in the wrong at all, but I have to say this as a formality. PO, well OP, she doesn't want you on the property, so be aware that if you come back here you technically can be charged with trespassing. Do you understand this as I've explained it? OP, absolutely sir. EM, but sir, I want to press charges. PO, he didn't do anything illegal ma'am. EM, but he verbally assaulted me. PO, I understand that, and while that was ill-advised, he slightly turns to me and gives me a small gesture with his hand, and I nod in agreement. It's not something I could arrest him for. He agrees he will not come back on your property without your direct permission. EM, ugh. Okay fine whatever. Ellie, come back inside. Ellie, what? No. EM, you heard PO, OP is leaving and you're staying here. PO, whoa, ma'am, I didn't say that at all. But, BU. PO, your daughter is not a child ma'am, she is a full-grown adult, she has every right to go wherever she wants. EM, I'm her mother. She lives under my roof. I told her she needs to stay here so she needs to stay. PO, no ma'am, that's not how it works. If she wants to go stay with her boyfriend, there is absolutely nothing you can do to stop her. EM starts the fake crocodile tears and stomps in the house in defeat. Ellie and I thanked the officer, got in the car and left. We've been living together ever since. Happy ending. Believe it or not, EM isn't really much of an EM anymore. Over the years since that day, EM has actually decided to make an effort to try and improve herself. I guess she realized that if she didn't make changes, she would lose her relationship with Ellie. So EM started taking advantage of her medical coverage and went to see her psychiatrist and got medicine for mental illness she actually had, as opposed to the one she would make up. Since then, well, she has actually gotten way better. She takes her medicine regularly and has a boyfriend that is an extremely kind man and treats Ellie as though she were his own daughter. So basically, EM isn't really an EM anymore. We actually get along very well and we see them frequently, and we help each other out whenever we can. We actually look back on the early years when she was in fact an EM and laugh. So not only is everybody getting along well, we can actually share the cringe stories and happily laugh about them. If you guys would like to hear some more, let me know. Edit. Oh my god. Thank all of you guys so much for your upvotes, awards, kind wishes and positive support. I'm so glad you guys enjoyed this so much. I am absolutely blown away by your responses. And so is Ellie. We greatly appreciate it all. A lot of you have said you would like to hear more, so either tonight or tomorrow I'll post another story that we call the Jellyfish Story, and I'll put Ellie's Mom Part 2 in the title. It's very refreshing to read one of these that has a happy ending. It's also good to hear that you and Ellie are still together. I'm glad the EM got help and that she changed her ways, too. Overall super happy after this story. Thanks for sharing it, OP. Thank you so much. And you're welcome. Like I said, I've got a couple more stories that I might share later. They are much shorter and more lighthearted, honestly, lol. What a nice happy ending, even though you had to deal with an EM in the past, but this shows that not everything has to end up being a sad ending. Definitely. It actually restored a lot of faith in humanity. I give a lot of credit to her boyfriend especially. I seriously can't even begin to say what a great man he has been, especially to Ellie. Her relationship with her mother over time made a complete 180, it's a borderline miracle in my opinion. But I think it just goes to show that good things can happen, and people can change in ways that you least expect. An EM becoming a non-EM is one of the rarest things ever, man. You should consider yourself lucky. Entitled Mom yells at me and my cousin because we didn't let her kids play. I'm sorry if the details are a bit vague, as I was only around 4 years old when this incident occurred. This story takes place in late 2008, around November. At the time, my cousin had the idea to set up a lemonade stand for our neighborhood, and I agreed. We received permission and gathered all the necessary ingredients to make the lemonade. Using an old lemonade stand from our parents' childhood and adding in our play tents and toys, we transformed our front yard into a kid's paradise with play tents, swings, a trampoline, and a sandbox. Our cul-de-sac had about 6 other kids, including 2 girls our age who had been our friends since we were born, as well as 4 older cousins whom we weren't extremely close with. We were familiar with all the kids, and everyone knew they were welcome to join us and play. Once we had our setup ready, our grandma treated us to some snacks. These snacks included chips, gummies, and 2 cups of cola. My cousin and I occasionally got to share a can of Coke as a treat. She also gave us a plate with 2 fresh brownies. Our routine was to play until we noticed someone approaching the lemonade stand. Most of the people who stopped by were family friends. There were also 2 strangers who approached but turned away after making a purchase. At one point, a boy around 9 or 10 came by on a bike. He immediately ran and started jumping on our trampoline with his shoes on, which upset my cousin. Our grandparents had a strict no shoes on the trampoline rule, and his jumping caused my cousin to fall off and hit her head. My papa, who was doing yard work nearby, intervened and asked the boy to get down. The The boy became angry and started yelling at my papa, claiming that he wasn't his boss and that his mom had told him he could play on the trampoline. This puzzled my grandpa because we had never seen this boy before. Despite the confusion, my papa picked the boy up by the arm and pulled him to the ground. He did this because the trampoline was very low to the ground. My papa explained to the boy that he couldn't simply do things because his mom told him to, and he emphasized that the boy could have just asked to play. However, he couldn't do that because he ended up hurting my cousin. The boy then sulked and got back on his bike. After my papa helped my cousin, we continued playing. By that point, we had sold most of the lemonade when we suddenly heard a loud crash. We turned to see a woman and the pitcher of lemonade shattered on the ground. The woman approached, grabbed me by the arm, and began yelling at both me and my cousin, leaving me terrified and unable to recall much of what she said. My papa heard the commotion and rushed over to see what was happening. He saw the woman holding me by the arm and started yelling at her. He even threatened to call the police. The woman let me go and redirected her anger towards my papa. To her surprise, my kind-looking grandpa could be stern and assertive. He shouted at the woman while my cousin comforted me. Unfortunately, the part of my arm that she had grabbed was already starting to bruise. Eventually, the woman grabbed a half-eaten brownie and threw it at my papa. In response, he took out his phone and called 911. This frightened the woman, prompting her to quickly run off. After that, we packed up and went inside. Fortunately, we were never bothered by that woman or her son again. We also found out that they lived on a nearby street. Good thing your dad was nearby. Sometimes people just can't stand to see someone else have a good time. I'm glad your grandpa was there to defend you all from the crazy lady. That woman shouldn't have been allowed to have kids in the first place. I'm sure the boy is currently a stand-up citizen doing good everywhere he goes. Entitled parent complained that I made him feel like a child. I work in the kids area on a cruise ship. Policy: we allow parents with kids younger than 3 in the play area. Rule being one parent have to be accompanying the child at all times. I left for a few minutes because of a child getting seasick. When I returned, there was the dad with his 2-year-old son drawing on the counter. Me: I'm sorry sir, but please do not let him draw on the counter. ED: oh, these aren't washable? Me: yes they are. We don't want anyone drawing on the counter. ED: allowing child to continue. Me: sir, please do not allow your son to draw on the counter. ED tells child he isn't allowed and they leave. While I clean the marker off the counter, child runs off to some prep work one of my co-workers set aside. Child grabs the scissors and the prep work. Me: sorry dear, you cannot play with this right now. You are welcome to play with it later. ED: it is okay for him to play with while I sit with him. Me: sir, there are toys he is welcome to play with. This he cannot play with right now. ED: I'll be sitting here with him. Me: I understand that. Right now he cannot play with this. He is welcome to when my coworker has finished cutting everything. ED: now frustrated, do I need to pay for anything? Me: no sir. I'm just letting you know right now he cannot play with this. ED: I thought my son was allowed to play with anything in this room. Manager: thank God for her, he can play with what is available to him. There are toys on the other side of the room he can play with. Sir: no need to pay for anything. ED takes a plate of markers to one of the tables. I tell my manager I'm going to give him some paper, as I'm worried he would allow the child to draw on the table. Just as I got the paper, there he was sitting next to the child drawing on the table. Me: sir, here is some paper for your son to draw on. Please do not allow him to draw on the table. ED takes the paper while telling his son he must draw on the paper, all frustrated. My manager give me a look of OMG. I went to go clean the room next door before returning. My manager informed me the ED asked for my name. He wanted to make a formal complaint against me for treating him like a child. My manager said the last straw was when his son opened the TV cupboard. Started playing with the things in there, which is the Nintendo Switch, controllers, sound system, DVD player and games for the Switch. My manager informs him that is not an area for a 2-year-old child to play with. He was obviously not happy by that. His wife showed up during the time. They left just as I returned. The wife thanked us for everything. That was that. The washable marker I could get off the counter. Sadly, not completely on the table. If they don't want to be treated like a child, maybe they should start acting like a parent. If they wouldn't allow their child to draw on the counters and table at home, why would they allow it anywhere else? Respectfully, I see no indication in this narrative that this father does not allow this kid to draw wherever kiddo wants to draw at home. I don't want to see their kitchen, or their living room, or anything else inside their house. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.